this is a means of providing a very appropriate boundary. It involves the hard work of being an authentic self. My younger brother, who's 26 years younger than me, called me the other day. His boss had called him into his office and had wanted to know why, as they were having conversations, it seemed that my brother's opinion about things shifted depending on what group he was with. He's not self-differentiated yet, right? He doesn't know where he stands on some items. And so it's very easy when you don't know where you stand to begin to, well, yeah, that sounds good. I could go with that. And then you get with the next group, well, that makes sense. I could go with that, right? And you're just bouncing back and forth. The scripture talks about it being as one who's able to be moved by the wind, right? They just move on a whim because they're not grounded in their faith. They're not established in what they believe. So we want to begin to look at a couple of the ways we can talk about differentiation. There's not one definition for it. So let me just give you some scenarios that will be ways you can talk about differentiation. So differentiation can be described as growing in the ability to be fully responsible for my own life while also being committed to growing closer to those whom I love. In other words, you want to be able to look at your own life, take responsibility for it, but you still want to be integrated into the lives of those who are around you. Someone who is not differentiated, self-differentiated, will become very self-focused to the exclusion of having any relationship with anyone else, right? So they haven't achieved self-differentiation. They're afraid of being involved with other people. They're only focused on themselves. A self-differentiated person focuses both on themselves and on others. Being able to declare clearly what I need and being able to request help from others without imposing my needs upon them. So, you need to be able to talk about what you need without implying that therefore they need to solve it. So when I call Rhonda and I'm telling her about something I need to go on vacation and I'm having the hardest time finding someone to watch my dog, but mainly because my dog will bite anybody and anything, including me. And really, I won't be able to go on vacation unless somebody takes them, and I wonder who might be able to take them. Now, do you see what I'm doing? I'm not sharing it in a way that's just sharing my need. I'm starting to push the idea that, Rhonda, you really ought to say, well, I'll take your dog so you can go on vacation, right? That is not a self-differentiated person. Self-differentiated person might call Rhonda and say, oh my gosh, who am I going to get to watch this stupid dog while I go on vacation? No implication that she needs to solve it. Now, if she's self-differentiated, she's not going to begin to feel that, well, she's not going to get to go on vacation, so I really should solve it for her, right? She's going to say, wow, that sounds like a really tough problem. Wonder how you're going to solve that one, okay? She doesn't have to take it on. She can choose to take it on if she wants to, but she doesn't have to. She shouldn't feel compelled to do that. All right. Understanding that I am responsible to others, but I am not responsible for others. This is one that I think parents have to learn how to move into as the kids are growing up. Those of us who have already sent kids off to college understand this very well, right? So, because when you reach a certain point, we should be still responsible to you. We should still be able to check in, that sort of thing. But I'm not responsible for your choices anymore. Parents who linger on with the choices that their kids are making after 18 are struggling with being self-differentiated, right? Because that individual has the responsibility and choices that they make. You cannot take it on as you have to solve it for them, right? You can't carry the shame if they make a bad choice. You can't carry the responsibility for forcing them to make right choices. They have to do it. So on the other side of it is, as you all begin to grow and be able to take on more and more responsibility, the enemy is going to begin to speak into your mind, well, I'm getting older. I shouldn't have to be responsible to anybody. I shouldn't have to check in. I've got it all going on. Therefore, I'm not going to call my parents and tell them how rude of them to even ask me, right? That's the enemy twisting it. It's perfectly appropriate when you are sharing a home environment for someone to want you to check in, right? And until you are 18 and above, it is still, they are responsible to you and to some degree for you, in that they still provide many things along that line. But they don't carry the burden of your choices. Those are yours to make and to carry. It's a really fine line. So it's trying to figure out how to be independent but still respectful. Does that make a little more sense how I'm saying it? And it has to be that way as we continue to grow as individual and unique, separate entities, but still as a part of a whole, as a part of a family, as part of a church family, as a part of a work family. You will find that the misnomer that as you get older you have more freedoms is wrong. Aren't you finding that, Daniel? You thought that you got to this age, you'd get to make all your own choices, you can do whatever you want whenever you want to do it. And instead, now not only do you have a family, not only do you have, maybe we have roommates or whatever, now you also have employees, you have, and an employer, and you become more responsible and more tied down than you did when you were younger. So in other words, I'm telling y'all, enjoy your high school years. Not that adulthood's not good, but it does carry its own burdens. Okay. Deciding never to use another person for my own ends, and to be honest with myself about this when I see myself falling into such patterns. So, let's see. Andy. Andy is a part of the band. I want my band to succeed. The church is better when the band is participating. It could very easily become something that I would do to try to manipulate Andy into the way he participated in band or the songs that he played or whatever, right? That's not a self-differentiated person. You don't use somebody. You provide opportunities for people to serve. You pray that God will provide and lead. You don't use somebody. Let's say Taylor, is that right? I have the name right? Taylor is new to the area. She's just found out that somebody is in theater. She may decide that she wants to be in theater. It would not be appropriate for her to use this connection and try to really be buddy-buddy with this person for the sole purpose of getting into theater. I hope they'll become good friends, right? I hope they'll know each other and associate that way. But it would be inappropriate for her to choose to do that for the sole purpose of getting into a group that the other person's in, right? So a self-differentiated person does not use other people for their own ends. And to be honest, when you catch yourself doing it, that's the tough part. And we've all done it, y'all. So, I mean, okay, really, anybody else gonna fess up? Anybody ever use somebody else to get your own ends? Sometimes it's your spouse. I know that if I go in there and I say, I'm going to start doing this, and I know he hates it when I do that, he may jump up out of his chair from watching the game and go ahead and do that. Okay, I've used that person for my own desire, right? Okay, so make no heroes, take no victims. Y'all, it means that we need to understand who we are and who other people are without putting other people up on pedestals. Don't allow yourself to be so enamored with somebody else that you fail to see who they really are, right? We want to be authentic, and we want the other person to be authentic. You can easily find yourself going down a slippery slope by not seeing the truth of someone else and placing them on too high a pedestal. You also don't want to take any victims. You don't want to use people for your gain. There's an old saying, watch how you treat people moving up a ladder, because when you come down, and you will pass them on the way. So the idea is you don't use somebody for your own gain. You're going to be authentic and allow them to be authentic. Those are different. That's forms of differentiation. So let's look at it this way. Differentiated people are, or do, let's look at these ideas. Differentiated people avoid siding with people even if it appears helpful. Now, girls, I know y'all do this. You'll say you've got a group of friends and Susie's saying something and you really like Susie and Susie's having a party next week and I want to go to that party, so I'm going to just agree with Susie till I get to the party, all right? And then I might tell her that I really don't believe that. It happens in all scenarios, right? So avoiding siding with people even if it appears helpful. Guys are not as much they don't. I haven't found that. Now I'm not a guy, so maybe I'm wrong. Y'all can tell me if that's true. I don't find that guys so much do that until it comes to politics. I see some siding in politics. Is that about right? Would you guys agree with that? Usually guys just get mad at each other and then the next minute they're best friends again. But you know, resist telling others what they need, think, feel, or should do. We do that a lot with younger kids. Someone falls down, and what's one of the first responses you've either heard or you've said? Oh, that doesn't hurt. You'll be okay. Has anybody ever heard that said? Has it ever been said to you? Yeah, you boys, have you been told, oh, just suck it up. You'll be all right, you know. Guys, don't cry. Don't, cover those emotions, whatever. But we should resist telling other people what they should feel. How do I know if it hurt or not? Right? So resist telling them. Don't tell people what they should do. Well, what you really should do is you should go and tell that boy, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay? Or my kids used to tell me, well, you should do that. You're the mom. Where's the book? I don't see it written down. There's not a 1, 2, 3 of what the mom should do, right? So the idea is when you're telling someone what they should do is you're implying that they don't have the ability to make the decision themselves, right? And if that individual then has a different idea of how it should be handled, you've just implied that the way they want to handle it is incorrect. And it may not be. So try not to push the word should. Also, don't let anybody push it on you. Grief is different for every person. It's a huge different way of dealing with it, right? One person going through grief can in 6 months seem to have everything all together and be doing fine. Another widow who's lost her husband of 50 years, it may take them 6, 8, 10 years. And no one should tell them, right? The word should. They have to move through it in the way they move through